And the pressure, the job that David did and
Oh,
his
yeah.
role in getting this horse, especially coming off of what happened at Fairgrounds. Just talk a little bit about him.
Well, anybody that knows me at all, I just think the world of David. And David, I sent him down to David for that reason. David's, just such a great horseman. And he had him all winter long. And he really had him until about a week before the Derby. And then we took him over to Churchill. And then, of course, I was there. But, he's just an amazing man. I'm lucky to have him. We're all, or Will's lucky to have him.
Now, will Will go to Keeneland today, or?
Well, he, as I, was supposed to leave at 9 o'clock this morning. Or actually, he was supposed to leave at 6. I was supposed to leave at 9. He's now leaving tomorrow morning, and I'm leaving this evening.
Okay.
So we made some changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is he vanning then?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
I kept him around because I figured everybody wanted to see him.
That's true. Good job.
I mean, Mark, you talked last night about how you've been watching these races and reviewing these races since you were 5 years old. I mean, given that context, can you put this in sort of broader perspective yet, or?
I don't know, no. Not really. People wouldn't understand how much I can remember, being 8, 10 years old, and Sunday was awful because there was no racing form. The racing forms were delivered to our farm, and everybody would drive from other places and pick them up. And I would sit at the, how most, like, the dog will sit waiting on its owner to come, or I would sit and I would wait for the car to bring the racing form. And then I'd run over and I'd read it from, top to bottom. And how could you not know about the Preakness? So much was, I didn't even let that bother me about the, the Derby horse not being here and this and that. And it's the Preakness. And we can now say we won.
Extremes, the roller coaster you've been with this horse. The ups, and then there's been a couple of downs.
Oh, that's kind of my job. I think Classic Empire helped prepare me for this as well. It's training horses is always a lot of curves and everything. Not everybody really gets to see all the behind the scenes stuff. They get to see it for Derby week and Belmont week and Preakness week because they're all around. But we have yourself. What about the things that we get thrown at us? What was it last year with the quarantine in New Orleans? And it's just not this past year, but the year previous. There's so many things that are thrown at you. And like I said, he came out of a little rough. His we had to pull his shoe off, which was a little scary, and he was tender-footed for a while. So I didn't know. See, that was the one thing in my mind that bothered me a little bit. Normally with more than 2 weeks, we would get to maybe test the foot a little bit more than we did, because at 2 weeks we can't do that. We don't have the time. So that weighed a little heavy on my mind. But everything he showed me was perfect. But even with an hour and 30 minutes to go to the Preakness, I had him out walking, looking at him, just making sure that
How did that foot look today?
Oh, actually, it looks really good. It looks really good. Because I do worry a lot, and if I wasn't happy, even with an hour and a half, I would have scratched him.
So is that going to be an ongoing thing for the next 3 weeks of checking him out, not only the foot, but just in general?
Now I'll probably check him out even more often. No, that's just, what's the Geico commercial? They make that a trainer, that they're nervous. That's what I do. That's but that when you do have a little issue, that you do pay more attention to it. Just like for when with the he has the string halt, right? Yeah, that drove us all nuts, David and myself, for a long time. And I said, after seeing it 150 times, I stopped worrying about it. After the race, the outrider came up to me and goes, something's happened to him behind it, you know, and he's right. I said, enough, that's just him, that's what he does.
I didn't realize he did that because I knew Kenny McPeak's horse does.
Yeah, but Kenny's is worse than ours. But any of them, if they're a little bit, when they're tired, they'll do it even, it'll exaggerate it a little bit. He's not doing it hardly at all this morning, you know. And he's been doing it, I really started noticing it maybe after the Breeders' Cup, yeah. But it's good, it hasn't, in fact, if anything, maybe it's better.
Mark, you were talking about this when I first came up, so if you could go over it again, but about your phone must have just been blowing up and all the...
Yeah, I said I had 400, you know, probably between texts and emails over 400, you know. And I always answer everybody. So I've only answered about 250 of them so far, so I'm still going on that. And I don't know if you were here when I said I got a very nice email from Gary West, which was nice, congratulating Gary and I, so that's good.